Right. This is DJ Kool Herc, the founder of hip hop. In 1972, he discovered small breaks inside of records and looped them over and over again. Back then, he called this the merry-go-round. Today, we call it a rap beat. I'll start with Kool Herc to say this. Hip-hop was created by hackers. The culture of turning nothing into something. The culture of making $1 out of 15 cents. Let me ask you a question. Is this not the same attitude required when building a scalable product? See, we discovered two problems. One problem was that entrepreneurs in the minority community were actually starting businesses more than anyone else. But at the same time, they were actually failing more than anyone else. So the second problem we discovered was that it was more than actually a digital divide. A lot of people like to talk about a digital divide, but it was actually a communication divide as well. So how do you communicate with a lot of young people, a lot of people from urban areas about things that they can do? So let's talk about mixtapes. See, with mixtapes, they came out in the 90s, well, not more than before the 90s, but you kind of know mixtapes as being something that you put your favorite songs on. But in the hip-hop circles, mixtapes were really big, and it was like the only way for entrepreneurs to get discovered. Not entrepreneurs, rappers. They were entrepreneurs. So what they would do is put out these small records. So what happened is they started to take this into their own hands and release album-quality music as mixtapes without DJs, and they would use it to build an audience, measure what was going on with the audience, and then learn from that experience. And if it didn't work out, they'll shake it all up and try again. So I want to start with two mixtape artists. One is 50 Cent. Most people know who 50 Cent is. You know who he is, but do you know who this guy is? Dr. Klaus. He's just like 50 Cent. So the thing is, 50 Cent, he comes from the street. He's real gutter. He has a very big reputation in the street. He was a big mixtape artist, and he felt like he can bully his way into the music industry. And then when you look at someone on the other side, like Dr. Klaus, he was someone who had just raised about $30 million for a startup called Expert City. And just like 50 Cent, he kind of felt like, well, nobody can tell me what to do. I can just go ahead and do my own thing. So you just never know what would happen, but it didn't end up that way. Dr. Klaus actually found out that nobody likes Expert City. Nobody wants to talk to experts. And he found that out the hard way only because he spent $10 million before figuring out nobody wanted it. And then when you look at someone like 50 Cent, he actually got signed to a record label early in his career. He released a lot of different records, but none of them really took off, so he actually got dropped from his first label. Not many people know that. So they went back to the drawing board. They said, look, we got to talk to our customers and release more mixtapes. You know, Dr. Klaus releasing mixtapes as well. So they did customer validation, and they released different iterations, and they came up with their final products, which was big. You know, so Dr. Klaus found out nobody really liked talking to experts, but after different mixtapes, iterations, he found out that they liked the software that they were using to actually broadcast the desktop to another user. And then when you look at 50 Cent, he found out what sound worked better for him. So he released different versions of his records, and then one that worked, it got him noticed, of course, by two VCs, Eminem and Dr. Dre. So, and this is them shaking hands right here. They outside, so I wanted to show that. So two men, two different roles, two different paths, getting to the same location of success by using the methodologies that we're here talking about today. And what better way than to do it with Lean Startup, and I feel like with Lean Startup, we can stop the leakage of failures happening in our urban community. And what better way than to use the story of 50 Cent, who's pretty much built, measured, and learned his way to success. So there are more stories than Dr. Klaus. There are more stories than 50 Cent. There are more lessons to be learned. So what we did was we formed our own mixtape called the Phat Startup. And what we want to do is pretty much close that communication gap that I talked about earlier. So what we wanted to do is create a media company that can provide resources and tools for aspiring entrepreneurs and urban entrepreneurs in hopes that they start to get it like we did. And we love hip hop. There you go. So.